Are we on? Are we on? We're on. I think we're on. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but I rebooted. Um, so now I'm gonna wait again. Thanks, Terry. I will do that. Pop out chat. Um, Thanks, Terry. I will do that. I'm usually pretty good about my stuff, but some things are a little wonky for me. Um, I have no idea what happened there. Not a little bit at all. But I should be running again. Let's see. I'm not going to do this one today. I am, while we were doing their book, I'm going to be working on, while we're doing the book, I'm going to be working on a pair of socks that I was working on. And then if bother, if I end up running out of stuff to do, I'm going to then work on our little thing. Let's see. Let's see if I can get this camera position just a little bit better. Bump. Okay. And we are a little bright and unfocused. Oops, that's even more unfocused. Whoops. Can we get some less bright? Maybe? More natural light going on in there? Nope. I think I have two filters. Could brightness down a little. Oops, we need some brightness or else we can't see the, maybe contrast up some. Brightness up some. Oops. Brightness down, contrast down. Maybe the gamma needs to come down. Oh, that's a bit better. What do you think? That's a bit better. Because the white's awful bright. Okay, well, that'll have to do. So sorry about that, guys. I have no idea what happened, but everything started to just kind of up there. I don't know. And hi, Hans. Hi, Josiah. And thank you, Terry. So yeah, in a quart of cold black coffee, it is sounds yummy. I got some. I got some coffee. It's not black, but it's coffee. It'll do. Um, we're still a little kind of. I wonder if I just need to turn it off. How's that? That's not quite so bright, is it? I'm sorry, with the way my back has been bad, I've got my monitor over here because I have it at my bed so I can sit with my feet up. And I have so it's so my ankles don't, or my back and ankles feels better if I sit up like that. Like I sit up on the bed with my legs crossed a bit and it doesn't hurt as much. So stupid weather, it's just kind of the way it is during the winter here. Where's my mouse at? Okay, I'll start up the book. It's Lee Sutton's Venus Boy, and we're doing chapters 10 to 13. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Chapter 10 of Venus Boy. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Shasta, Oakland, California. Venus Boy by Lee Sutton. Chapter 10. Alone in the Jungle. Johnny was afraid. Behind a boulder by New Plymouth Rock, he had been sitting and waiting for Baba for almost 1 hour. It was too long a time to wait with nothing to do but imagine what might happen in the jungle. Johnny was dressed for the cold night to come in a synthetic fur parka. Strapped on his back was a pack containing food and jungle equipment. Beside him was Baba's harness. He was very tired and sleepy. He leaned over and peeked cautiously from behind the boulder. The lights around the storage shed were still on. He wondered what was keeping Baba. He made himself comfortable again and listened to the night sounds. He listened hard for any sound of rhinosaurs outside. There was only the sigh of wind through the trampled marsh berries. As he listened, his head nodded down on his breast and his eyes closed. He wished Baba would come. Maybe he couldn't make it. But his thought trailed off into a dream. He was up in the meat tree being attacked by a rhinosaur, standing twice as high as the tree. Far away, someone began shooting at the rhinosaur. Then the tree was being shaken back and forth. Baba was clicking something in the dream Johnny couldn't understand. "Wake up, Johnny! Wake up!" Johnny's head jerked up. The shaking was real. It was Baba pushing his shoulder. The shooting was real, too. Men were running about the settlement with flashlights. It was hard to see for any distance through the green twilight, which would last for many hours longer. "Hurry, Johnny," Baba clicked. "Okay," Johnny said. He was still dazed with sleep as he helped Baba struggle into his harness. As soon as the harness was on, they began to run deeper among the boulders. Hundreds of small stones under their feet made a sound like a landslide. They stopped still, listening. The men had not heard. "Maybe we'd better go straight up the main rock," Johnny said. Baba nodded. Both knew it would be harder work, but safer. Johnny tested the straps on Baba's harness. There was no time to tie himself on. This time it was going to be harder for both of them. Baba didn't dare bounce, so they started right from the foot of the rock. In the half light, it was not likely that the men would see them. Even if they did, there was a good chance they would hold their fire when they saw Johnny. If so, the two of them could still get away. Oddly, Johnny's fear was gone. From below them came the sound of a man moving among the rocks. "Quiet, Baba," Johnny whispered. Baba stopped. Jeb flashed his light among the rocks and up along the main rock. For a fraction of a second, the light was full on them, but it passed without pausing. "Nothing over here," Jeb called out in a loud voice. "Dang critter must have got clear away." There was the sound of footsteps hurrying toward them. Johnny and Baba froze to the rock. "Hey, you two," Jeb's voice came softly. "I don't know what you're aimin' to do, but you'd better hurry up about it. They're fixin' to mount searchlights on the wall." Johnny was flabbergasted. The old hunter was helping them. There was a chuckle from below. "Hurry up now. I don't want no more baby marva a-hauntin' me like the one I told you about." "Thanks," Johnny whispered. "Golly, thanks. Come on, Baba," he clicked, turning his head back to the little bear. Baba began to scurry along up the rocks once more. "Just one more thing," the whisper followed them. "Ain't that clickin' the way those critters got of talkin'?" "Yes," Johnny answered. "I figured it. By gosh," Jeb chuckled deep in his throat, "I just knew you was fixin' up a getaway. Good luck, you two." "Goodbye," Johnny said. "You're a good man," Baba clicked. "A true friend." "Baba said you were a good man and a true friend," Johnny whispered. "Thank you, Baba," the old man said. Then he was gone. Baba and Johnny began climbing in earnest now. Johnny couldn't let himself get tired. As silently as they could, they went on and on. They climbed for what seemed to be an hour. Actually, it was 15 minutes later when they reached the ledge leading to the cave in the rock. They were barely inside when searchlights cut through the twilight and began to play on the rock. The two sat down to rest, but not for long. Soon they were tearing down the pile of rocks at the back of the cave so they could get into the main caverns. They had talked about staying the night within the inner rooms, but decided it was too dangerous. Sooner or later, the colonists were bound to drop someone from a helicopter to search for Baba on top of the rock, and there was too great a chance the entrance would be discovered. Once inside the main caverns, the first job was to make their way through the long passageways to the top of the rock to block the entrance they had made earlier in the day. It took precious time, but they had to do it. They almost didn't make it, for as they were filling in the last stone at the cave mouth, they heard the sound of copter motors. Johnny grabbed Baba's harness, and down the long winding passageways they went, full tilt. Soon they were picking their way about the brush near the exit of the long, damp tunnel. Through the green twilight they could see the searchlights brightening New Plymouth Rock. Baba was sniffing the air. Johnny listened carefully for the sound of rhinosaurs or of tanks. There was no evidence of either man or animal. "We made it, Grandfather Bear," Johnny said aloud to Baba. "You're safe." Baba grinned. "No rhinosaurs around either," he clicked. "We'd better hurry." "Let's stick close to the trees for a while, just in case," Johnny suggested. Only heavy brush surrounded them. "We'd better get to a tank path," Baba clicked, "or we won't get very far very fast." Johnny nodded. He settled his back on his shoulder and the two moved forward. Using Johnny's compass, they cut through the brush and soon came to a tank path. It was very still. There was no sound but the wind rustling the trees. All around them were trees and brush and pools of deep green shadow. The first 2 miles were the easiest. In the absence of rhinosaurs, there was nothing much to fear here but arrow birds, and they would soon be heading for their nests. Most of the Venus animals kept well away from the settlement. Twice a flight of arrow birds came shrieking down at them, and twice Baba's clicks sent them whirring on their way. Otherwise, the jungle was empty of life. It was a relatively safe zone, but in order to make sure of Baba's safety, they would have to go on into an area of teeming life. Johnny thought of the comfort and safety of the settlement, of the love and protection his parents had given him. He had left a note for his parents. "I am sorry to take Baba away since he is worth so much to the colony," he had written, "but he is just like a brother to me. Don't worry, I will be safe with Baba." He hoped they would understand. Though he had bravely told his parents not to worry, here in the jungle, Johnny himself was already frightened and very homesick. "Baba," he said suddenly, "it's going to be hard being away from Mom and Pop." They were walking now through the thick grove of meat trees that edged a forest of diamond woods that loomed up in the distance. "Yes," Baba clicked, "I know." "Well, I was thinking," Johnny continued, "that after we find your people, maybe after a month or so, I could go back home. Later I could come for visits and things." Johnny watched Baba from the corners of his eyes to see how the little bear would take to the idea. For a while Baba bounded along beside Johnny, his eyes straight ahead. "I know what it's like being without a mother and father," the little bear clicked so softly Johnny could hardly hear him. "It happened long ago, but I remember how it was at first. I can't bear to think of your going away, but we will see what happens." Baba turned toward Johnny. "I think you shouldn't have come." Johnny was sorry for having brought up the subject. "Let's skip it," he said. "Don't be an unhappy old grandfather bear," he joked. "Think about the nuts you'll find straight ahead." The nuts were not really very close. It took a good deal of hiking before the tank trail began to wind among gigantic trees. Bigger than Earth redwoods, they rose almost like mountains around them. Here even the wind did not enter, and beneath their feet was a cushion of fine leaves. All was silence. Johnny was glad to rest his feet while Baba gathered a few nuts. Then they trudged on. Hours later they emerged from the darkness of the diamondwood forest into the green twilight of the surrounding meat trees. Johnny was exhausted. A sudden coughing roar in the distance sent a shiver up Johnny's back and brought them to an abrupt halt. It was a saber-toothed leopard. Johnny heard a slight stir of movement in the underbrush. About them, birds of all kinds twittered and chirped, readying themselves for the long darkness of Venus night. They were out of the safety zone. Though many hours had gone by, it was still Venus evening. He and Baba had to push on into the deadly part of the jungle before they could rest. The leopard's roar had come from far away, and there was no immediate danger, but from that time on the two watched every step they took. A faint breeze blew in their faces. That was good. Johnny's scent would not be blown to any of the animals. Johnny set his voice to click, not to speak. He had to try to forget human speech and talk always like Baba. He spoke to Baba constantly in the marva language, and Baba corrected him when he let his clicks become high-pitched, as Baba's once had been. The meat tree grove was thinning out. The tank tracks were getting fainter and fainter. Vines wound around the trees and bushes. On the vines, great orange flowers seemed to burn with color in the green light. Johnny watched the flowers carefully because one might really be a scarlet ape. Men called these flowers monkey flowers, since they were so near the color of those small apes that lived on the edge of meat tree groves. As the two adventurers walked, the noises of animals became louder and more numerous. A large bird fluttered across their path and went shrieking ahead of them. Then there was sudden silence. They stopped. Baba hurriedly clicked loudly into the silence. Friend pets, bother. He did not have time to finish the sentence. Johnny was struck suddenly on the back and sent sprawling on his face. 100 tiny hands seemed to be pulling at his hair. He felt a rip of cloth and then a sharp pain as a small claw cut into his back. Baba was clicking loudly. As suddenly as he was struck down, the attack on him stopped. Dazed, he painfully got to his hands and knees. Friend pet, bother us not, bother us not, Baba was repeating over and over again as loudly as he could. Johnny's eyes widened. Surrounding them were hundreds of tiny monkeys no more than 8 inches high. Scarlet red in color, they sat perfectly still, their eyes fixed on Johnny and Baba. Sitting high on a nearby bush, one of the little apes held a packet of Johnny's food in its tiny hands. Johnny stood up to his full height and a low growl went up from the animals. The monkey with Johnny's packet hurled it at Johnny with surprising strength. Johnny made a quick catch. Thank you, Johnny clicked in the marva tongue. The monkeys chattered excitedly. Thank you, friend pet. Give it something, Baba clicked. Oh, I'm afraid, Johnny. They hate you so much. I can feel it. Johnny knew why. The skins of these animals were much in fashion for coats back on Earth. Johnny reached down for his knife to cut the strings of the packet. As the knife came in sight, a menacing growl went up. As Johnny and Baba stood there, more and more of the monkeys leaped from the bushes to join the crowd. The whole path was covered. The trees seemed to be filled with red flowers. Some of the newcomers were intent upon rushing Johnny when the knife glittered in the half light. But Baba stopped them with his sharp, repeated commands. Johnny cut the packet open. Among other things, a large bag of candy was inside. He had raided the cupboard well. "Come here," Johnny clicked as firmly as he could manage. "Friend pet, come here." He pointed at the little creature who had thrown the package at him. Showing its teeth and growling faintly, the monkey bounded forward. Johnny held out a piece of candy to it. It sidled up, snatched the candy, and ran back to the others. It sniffed at the sweet chattering wildly. Then its long black tongue went out and licked it. The monkey's eyes widened and it popped the candy into its mouth, smacking its lips. Again Johnny was almost knocked down. He was surrounded, climbed over, patted, peered at, and deafened by chatter. In a few seconds not a piece was left, but the monkeys no longer growled. Go away," Baba clicked. Reluctantly, the animals parted from Johnny and took to the trees along the path. The branches swayed under them as they chattered among themselves. Suddenly, as quickly and mysteriously as they had appeared, the monkeys were gone. Something was wrong. Johnny's fear returned with the sense that something was watching him. Hardly daring to, he looked behind him. There, in the half-darkness, glowed 3 pairs of green eyes. Crouched, ready to spring, a leopardess was watching them, her 2 cubs beside her. How long they had been watching, Johnny never knew. He froze in his tracks. Baba had not looked around. "Friend pets, bother us not, bother us not." Baba was clicking loudly in preparation for going forward. As Johnny watched, the leopard, followed by her cubs, slipped into the jungle. "You didn't see her," Johnny clicked. "There was a leopard and 2 cubs." Baba turned in the direction toward which Johnny was pointing. "We'd better go back," he clicked. "No," Johnny insisted bravely. "She and her cubs went away when you began to talk." "Not far away." Baba sniffed the air. "I can smell them. I smell rain, too." "Then we'd better find shelter. Come on, maybe we better take a path over to the right, away from the tank trail," Johnny suggested. The leopardess went the other way. Baba nodded. They trudged on and took the first animal trail to the right. Baba went slightly ahead, crying, "Friend pets, bother us not," over and over again. It was almost a chorus now. Most of the time Baba clicked it, but when he got tired, Johnny took over for a while. They never ceased repeating the magical words. Once an antelope walked by their sides a few yards off, but he soon bounded away. Shortly afterward, Johnny thought he saw a large black shadow moving in the deep brush. They walked steadily and found nothing but brush land. Then, not 100 yards from them, a river shone through the deepening twilight. The shine of the water stopped them. They had proved they could control some of the animals, possibly even the leopards and rhinosaurs. But if a river snake struck without warning, as the monkeys had done, it would be the end of Johnny. While Johnny stood where he was, Baba went forward, chanting the cry, "Bother us not," as he went. When he returned, he looked worried. "It's too dangerous to try to swim," he clicked. "In some places the branches of the trees on this side almost touch branches of the trees on the other side. If we keep on the path, maybe we can find a place where it would be safe to climb over." The path they were on turned and followed the river. They walked on for a few minutes. Baba stopped again, sniffing the air. "I don't like it," he clicked. "The leopards are close again." They moved forward cautiously, but when minutes passed and no attack came, they walked with more confidence. The magic formula of clicks seemed to be working. Though nothing bothered them, they knew from rustling noises and from cries that animals were all about them. Nowhere could they find a place where the tree branches made a bridge across the river. Nowhere could they find a place of refuge. The trail began to lead away from the river toward a little hill that stood in black outline against the almost darkened sky. Big Venus fireflies had begun to come out, sparkling like so many blue stars. The two weary travelers followed the path, hoping it would lead back to the river. It ended completely at the base of the small rocky hill. So tired he almost wanted to cry, Johnny sat down in the middle of the path. Then he noticed a spot of deeper darkness among the rocks. He jumped to his feet. "Hey, Baba," he said, "it looks like a cave. Come on." The two of them hurried forward. A nice, comfortable cave was just what they were looking for. They were within a few yards of the cave when they heard a crashing noise from the underbrush and the pad of soft footsteps. A leopardess leaped in front of them, cutting them off from the cave. The big cat growled low, and two cubs scuttled through the entrance. The leopardess sat back on her haunches in the mouth of the cave, her eyes two gold-green lights burning in the dark green of the late twilight. Slightly larger than an earth lion, the Venus saber-toothed leopard is coal-black, marked with golden spots. Her two tusk-like fangs show why leopards are among the most deadly fighters of all Venus animals. Baba began clicking again. Johnny stood stock still. The leopardess watched them. She looked as if she might spring at any moment. Then, with a ripple of her powerful shoulder muscles, she lay down in the mouth of the cave. "Let's go before she changes her mind and attacks," Johnny said. "No, wait," Baba said. "You stay here." Slowly, Baba walked up to the spot where the big cat was lying, clicking as he went. She appeared to pay no attention to him, but when he was right beside her, she stood up. She made a low rumbling in her throat that sounded strangely like a purr. When Baba paused, the leopardess made a little coughing sound. The two cubs, who were as large as collie dogs, came tumbling out of the cave, their tongues hanging out. They came up to Baba, cocking their heads. They rubbed themselves in a friendly way against the little bear. "Come on, Johnny," Baba clicked. "I think we have a home." His heart in his mouth, Johnny walked forward. "Friend pet," he clicked firmly. "I am your friend." Repeating this, he walked straight up to the deadly beast. He reached out a trembling hand and patted the ugly, fanged head. The creature stood rigid, but as he patted her, she relaxed, and the purring noise began in the back of her throat. The big head moved around. Her mouth opened slightly, and she licked his hand. She made a little coughing noise, and the cubs came up to him. He petted them too, and looked at Baba. "Come on," said the little bear. "Let's see what the leopard's house is like." Together the two explored the inside of the cave with the help of Johnny's flashlight. It was surprisingly clean. The big cat had dragged in straw, which was arranged thickly over part of the floor. "It sure looks like it would make a good bed," Johnny said. He was so tired, so much had happened. Trader Harkness and the meat fruit, the climbing of New Plymouth Rock, the rhinosaur raid, and Rick's betrayal, and the escape into the jungle. Johnny ate a few antelope berries to quench his thirst, but nothing more. He arranged a place for himself on the dried grass and curled up. He was almost asleep when he heard the big cat come into that part of the cave. He opened his eyes to see the saber-toothed leopard looming over him. For a second he was afraid. Just then, just as a house cat will do, she pushed her paws back and forth into the straw, circled a few times, and lay down right by his head, pushing him aside. He rearranged his bed and lay his head against her soft flank. With his head pillowed against a saber-toothed leopard, Johnny Watson slipped off to sleep. End of chapter 10. Chapter 11 of Venus Boy. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Okay, so this should I still hear it. Is it done? Okay, we're done. Okay, I'm going to just shut her down now because of the technical difficulties, and we'll pick it up. I'm hearing myself. There we go. And then we'll pick it up on it's not really being able to wear flip-flops. Yeah, no, that's too bad. I only started wearing them the last few years because my like the tile floor in my room is really nice, but it's really cold like all the time. So I wear flip-flops all the time on my feet when I'm walking around my room, and just as a general rule. And especially during the winter, I tried slippers and stuff, but I find I wear through them really fast. But I find these socks that the material doesn't wear through as fast as some of the other acrylics. So that's that's what I'm doing, is I'm just making the I've got actually 3 or 4 pairs of these socks where I might just cut the toe end off and redo them to have the to separate toes so that I can wear the flip-flops, because that just gives me that extra warm on the bottom of your foot. But I also have the thing like old cheap flip-flops, so I can make a flip-flop slipper. And but yeah, like I said, I'm just gonna shut her down because of all the technical difficulties I was having, because my hand camera is frozen. Stupid thing. Anyway, that's too bad. I hope your foot gets better. Everything with me is medical. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, um, I think we all need to get into the shop and get some body work done. Arthritis right now is making my back so unhappy. But, that's just the price of being a person, I suppose. And like for me, it's living where I'm living. Gotta grow a new claw. Yeah, ouch. Yeah, that's fun. My mom has had. I actually kicked something not long ago. Well, not, last year, I guess. I suppose it was during the summer, and I remember just about falling over. And I looked down, and it was nothing as far as I could tell. And it was, well, it wasn't even during the summer because I don't wear shoes during the summer. So it was it must have been during the winter, and I was wearing like little socks all the time, and I really wasn't paying attention. And then one night, my toenail getting caught on something, and I looked, and I had actually ripped off most of my toenail, or half of it. And so I had to cut it down, and then it grew back eventually, but it took a long time. But boy, did that ever hurt. So I feel for you. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I hit it like it hurt really bad when I hit it, but I was doing something, so I ignored it because that's kind of what I do, and I just went on doing what I had to get done. If you guys knew how much I've hurt myself from doing stupid shit, I got a big, huge bruise here, and I have no idea how I got it. Like, really, I don't have a clue. And but yeah, I like do that kind of stuff all the time. So yeah, it's just whatever. So I'm gonna quit now, I guess, from all the troubles that we've been having, and I'll talk to you guys later. If I can get something figured out, I'll probably be back later this afternoon, probably after my supper. And if not, I'll be back as usual on Tuesday, not Thursday, Tuesday, and I'll do up. We just finished chapter 10, so we'll do chapter 11, 12, 13 on Tuesday, and maybe 14, depending on how big that channel is. Um, we'll have to have a look. Have to have a look if it's because the channels we got left is like the 13 11 12 13 is about an hour long. 14 is, yeah, maybe that's what we'll do, because then it'll be an hour and 20 minutes on Sunday as well. So that's what we'll do. I'll do 11 12 13 and 14 next time, and 15, 16, 17, 18 to finish off the book the time after that. So whenever that next time is, I don't know if it'll be this time around or on whatever day. You know what I mean. So it'll be either today or. Do you do socks to order? Yeah, I can. Um, Depends on the material. It depends on the size. I need pretty good measurements because I don't really know any sizes. Um, so if you're looking for something in particular, like I just need like a measurement around your sock, your where your toes are, the toes are, and a measurement like your length and your width here and your width here. Um, just and if you want the ninja feet, I need to know how big that toe is. So I need a measurement in through there, like in around the big toe. I guess this toe, the big toe. But yeah, let me know, because I have an idea of how long it takes to finish my socks. So it'll depend on the order and how long it's going to take, so how much it's going to be. Like it takes around 4 hours to do up a pair of socks for my little feet. So yeah, and it depends on what material you want and all that kind of fun stuff. Okay, so I'll let you guys go. I'll see y'all later, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. And Badger, hit me up on Twitter. If you seriously want a pair of socks, I can figure out a quote if you give me some measurements. Okay? Talk to you later, guys. Love ya. Bye. Stop.